Calvin, thank you. The passion in Calvin's remarks mirrored, like I said, the lightning that he would bring to a track meet. And under today's rules, there'd be a 30-minute delay every time he walked on the track. And it's neat to see that passion continues. Our next inductee is Reggie McAfee from the 60s. He will be introduced by Bob Roncker, and Mike Deering will give his award. I had the privilege of getting beat on a weekly basis by Reggie McAfee. My senior year of high school at Anderson, I was sure I was going to win everything. And then the exchange student Ragnar Arentz showed up from Sweden, and skinny little Reggie McAfee showed up. It was pretty exciting as I look back. There's a lot of I enjoy the historical honor of racing him, but I sure wish he was 2 years younger. So, Bob Roncker, the guru of shoe, will introduce Reggie McAfee.
Thanks, Andy. Just as Paul Harvey may say there, and here's the rest of the story, Don Wally in the back, last year Don received the Lifetime Award, and he mentioned that when he was in high school, I guess he was on the same cross-country team with Mr. Stoller at Hughes High School back a ways. But when Andy's talking about Reggie McAfee, I was fresh out of University of Cincinnati, and my first teaching and coaching position, I was over at Elder High School. And the coach at Quarter Tech, a fellow named Bobby Howe was a very good sprinter, and we were on the same team. And we had a dual meet set up early in the season. It may very well have been our first meet over at Rapid Run Park. And we had a pretty nice team that made it to the state meet that year. And so we had our first meet, and we beat Quarter, and we had a couple guys that finished ahead of this youngster from Quarter Tech, and didn't really think of it. Well, a month later, we had the an invitational that we would have every year over there, and this fellow who had been beaten by a couple of our runners, all of a sudden he just flies away from everybody else and saying, who, like Andy was maybe thinking, where'd this guy come from? Who is he? He was a sophomore, and perhaps the day that we had a couple of guys finish ahead of him, that may have been the first day that he practiced, for all I know. It was right in the beginning of the season. Reggie continued on. He had a very good sophomore year. His junior year, I know he had a bad case of shin splints, or maybe it's stress fracture, but I don't think we called things stress fractures back then. It just he was hobbling, but he did well. And then his senior year, he won a state title that year. Then his senior year, he was running the 2 mile, and he devoted his time to the mile and the half mile. And he set a performance that I think it was one of the greatest performances by a distance runner ever in the area. He had lowered his time down to about a 4:13, which was the area best record. It may very well have been the state record at the time. And he was going into the state meet up in Columbus. And we had a pretty decent miler ourselves who ended up finishing 5th. And Reggie never liked to have anybody lead him. And so I told Tom, just at the end of the first quarter, be last, because I knew the pace would be fast. Well, there was a kid from Amherst Steel up north who I guess had the same instructions or had the same thought of Reggie, that he did not like to be behind anybody. So they went out in about 57 seconds. It's going to set up a little bit of lactic acid in high school going out like this. And he ended up finishing in 4:08.5, which that's the mile, not the 1600 meter. That was a state meet record. And similar to talking about Kim's double, and they came back, and I know there wasn't much rest. And he came back, and there was a fellow from up in Cleveland in the 880 who I guess he always liked to take it out. He went out in about 51. And Reggie wasn't leading this time because he only had about a half-hour rest or whatever it was. They were running the meets. They didn't have the women in between the men. They were just boom, 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 boom. They're just moving it along. Reggie ends up winning that in 152.5. Again, a state meet record. He went on to Brevard Junior College in North Carolina for a couple of years. Transferred to the University of North Carolina, and this was in the early 70s. This was a key heyday for U.S. middle distance runners. Our keynote speaker last year, Jim Ryan, was in races, Marty LaQuarrie, and Reggie would be right up with them. He became the first African American to break the 4-minute mile, and he continued down in North Carolina, living down there. He's retired, and I understand he has a foundation. And but in my mind, having had the opportunity the first 3 years that I was involved with teaching and coaching to follow somebody like this was quite a sight. And Reggie was certainly an outstanding distance runner. And I'm sorry that he's unable to make it here this evening, but he certainly merits being part of this group. And again, I think the committee did a good job in selecting him as part of the honor roll. Thank you.
Is there anyone from Reggie's family here today? At the last minute, Reggie was unable to come, and I'm not sure if anybody's here from his family. If not, we will make sure that he gets his award. Our next inductee is Jim Schnur. Jim Schnur. He will be introduced by Mary Wineberg, and his award will be given by Bill Schnur.
Hello. Yes, you guys are alive. Thank you. It is a great pleasure to stand before you all this evening and give honor to a man who has given so much of his wisdom, his heart, and his energy into helping others succeed, and most of all, reach their dreams and their goals. I can remember attending the University of Cincinnati, and as a sophomore and junior, this individual coached my event, the sprints. And I guess, I don't know how I can say it. I guess I'll just say I was one hard cookie. I was your typical college student athlete who thought they knew it all or who just wanted to test boundaries. Yep, I was that one. But don't worry, I wasn't a troublemaker. I didn't get bad grades. I just like to bargain, I guess you could say. I knew what I was supposed to do, but I always tried to bargain with our inductee. I can see him and hear him saying now, Mary. When bargaining, as I call it, I saw it as a chance to be funny and see how much me and my co-conspirator, which I will not name because she's not here to talk for herself, but I wanted to see what we could get away with. Whether the workout consisted of us running 8 times 80s or 6 times 200s, you could always count on myself and blank to chime in and say, oh, Jim, can we only do this, and not that? So those were the years in college, and I just want to say, sorry, Jim. So I'm not going to read to you guys exactly what's in the program about Jim, but I do want to encourage you all to read it. He has just a tremendous amount of different accolades. But I want you guys to know that he accomplished a lot, not only as a high school athlete, but during his collegiate years, and even competing post-collegiately and representing Team USA, and even into producing an impressive resume as a college coach at the University of Cincinnati. Everything that he did shows his love and his knowledge of the sport. And most of all, I'm able to stand here today because he coached me. He coached me to back-to-back gold medals on the world-class scene of track and field. As a friend and athlete of Mr. Jim Schnur, I am honored to speak about him today. He not only coached me to an Olympic gold medal, he also coached me to a world championship gold medal, many other track accolades, and many world-class high rankings. But most of all for me, I think the biggest thing that he taught me was to realize my talent. He pushed me every day to excel. And he wanted me, and he made me believe in myself in terms of how I could be the best in the world, and to never ever doubt myself. So I'm so ever thankful for him. I'm so thankful for his time that he put in with me, his effort, and knowing that he believed that I could be an Olympian. Without Jim, I honestly don't know what kind of athlete I would have became, but as I look back from college to now, I'm just so thankful that he never, ever let me bargain as we trained for the 2008 Olympics. Instead, we pushed forth, and we were determined for my dream. So I just want to thank you, Jim, and I hope that you know that we all love you, and I'm gonna not cry up here, and I just want to let you know that we cherish you, and we appreciate all that you have done, and I just want to welcome you as our next inductee into the Hall of Fame, and may your work in our sport never, ever be forgotten. So I want us all to welcome Mr. Jim Schnur.